After making the underemployment video, I've realized there's a much bigger version of that feeling. It's not just whether your job uses your skills, it's whether the whole entry-level path still feels like it leads anywhere. Because the weird part about the job market right now is that it doesn't have to be broken to feel broken. The promise was never just, you will get paid. The promise was, study hard, get the job, and then life starts moving forward. And I think a lot of people are now realizing that these aren't the same things. Growing up, the path felt very obvious. Do well in school, get into uni, get a respectable job, and build a stable life. And I don't think that was necessarily bad advice. It probably is still good advice in a lot of ways. But I think that there's a hidden assumption somewhere, and it's that each step would naturally lead to the other. Uni would lead to work, work would lead to growth, growth would lead to stability, and stability would lead to a future that feels real. When I started looking into this, the Australian climate was a lot more complex than I imagined. It's not as simple as graduates can't get jobs anymore. The 2025 Graduate Outcome Survey says that about 75% of undergraduates were in full-time work within 4 to 6 months of finishing study. And Indeed's Australian data says that graduate postings are still above the 2019 level, even though they have fell sharply since 2023. So the honest version isn't everything is dead. Rather, the easy sense of momentum has cooled off. The thing is, employment is only one part of the promise. A job is meant to give you money, yes, but it's also meant to give you skills, confidence, responsibility, direction, and a sense that you're becoming more capable. And if your job only gives you money, then you can feel a bit stuck. That's the bit that I think people don't always know how to talk about. A lot of frustration I see online is that entry-level work doesn't feel entry-level anymore. People talk about graduate roles asking for experience, job applications disappearing into automated systems, and the feeling that you have to be weirdly polished before anyone is willing to train you. I'm not claiming that every company is like this, but I think the emotional pattern is quite clear. Young people feel like they're being asked to start halfway up the ladder. And then on the other side, which is almost stranger, some people do get the job, but once they're in, the work doesn't really fulfill them. It's admin, meetings, processes, little tasks, waiting for approvals, and trying not to make a mistake. And again, that's not evil. A lot of work has boring bits. But if you've spent years building yourself up for some bigger sense of contribution, it can feel weird when the real job mostly teaches you how to stay within the lines. AI makes this even weirder. I don't think there's a claim that AI has taken all the jobs. The Australian data that I saw just doesn't prove that. But psychologically, AI changes the feeling of being a junior. Because tasks that were previously beginner tasks, writing first draft, summarizing things, doing simple analysis, and making basic versions first, are now exactly the tasks that everyone is trying to automate. So it's kind of like you're trying to be useful while at the same time the definition of useful is moving. I think this is why many people are trying to build momentum outside of work. Fitness, running, sports, side projects, and learning random things online. From the outside, it looks like everyone is just collecting random hobbies, but I think some of it is a bit more serious than that. It's people trying to find places where effort can turn into visible progress. That's the part that I keep thinking about for myself. I have a job, and I'm not trying to make some dramatic quitting my job story, but I also don't want my sense of growth to depend on whether work gives me the perfect role. So I keep coming back to this idea of building in other places where I still feel like I can grow. Squash, health, AI projects, this channel, small systems, and learning things from scratch. Not because I have it figured out, more because I don't want to drift while waiting for the path to become clear. So I guess the question that I'm sitting here with is, if the old playbook still kind of works, but doesn't automatically give you momentum, what are you supposed to do? The answer definitely isn't to blow up your whole life. Maybe it's just to notice where you feel underused and pay attention to the places where effort still turns into progress. If you are in the early career stage too, I'm curious whether work actually feels like it's growing you, or whether you are building that somewhere else.